Hello and welcome to another edition of the Blood Red Morning Bulletin. I am joined today with my Liverpool.com colleague Ben Bostak. How do you say your name?
Bocsak.
Bostak, apologies. I've never had to call you by your second name before, so I'm trying to be all professional here. But Ben, today we're going to talk about two players that you are quite fond of. The first one is a Brazilian wonder kid, the latest Brazilian wonder kid called Marcos Leonardo. Recently, he's been linked with a move to Liverpool. He's an 18-year-old, been described as the next Romario. You wrote a very good article yesterday on Liverpool.com, going in depth about the Brazilian. So, what can you tell us? And should we be excited? And are the links, do you think, genuine, or do you think this is just agent talk or just general transfer speculation?
Well, I think it is just general transfer speculation at the moment, at the minute. The links seem to be coming from this Brazilian presenter who is known for making facetious remarks or just being, getting a little bit carried away. And he's the one who said he's on his way to Liverpool. So we'll have to take that with a pinch of salt, I think. But he is a very talented player, and we know Liverpool have extensively scouted the region and do scout the region in Brazil. They've been interested in many other Brazilians who didn't end up going to Liverpool in the end, but the likes of Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, and Lucas Paqueta and stuff like players like that, Liverpool were in for. It's just the money that they ask for these wonder kids in Brazil in particular is a little bit excessive, a little bit beyond FSG's means. But in regards to Marcos Leonardo, other reporters have said that he does want to move to the Premier League, and there is Premier League interest in him. So it would not be surprising if Liverpool were among them, because he is one of the most talented teenagers in Brazil right now.
So obviously you've watched a lot of them. So how would you best describe him? Say obviously he's every wonder kid that comes out of Brazil is always the next so and so, the next so and so, or has elements of a Brazilian legend. From what from what I've read about him, he's been described as the next Romario. How do you see him? Do you think he's more like a Romario, or is he more like, I don't know, Ronaldo Nazario or Ronaldinho or Kaká even? So how would you best describe him?
Yeah. The presenter is the one who said he's going to Liverpool. He compared him to Romario. I don't really see those comparisons. Romario is obviously a bit before my time, so I haven't seen much of him. But for me, he reminds me of Luis Suarez in his explosiveness. And he's someone who kind of comes alive in the final thirds, which was the case with Suarez as well at Liverpool. He's good at dribbling. He's good at taking on his players one-on-one. And I think what I really like about him is, as well as his finishing, he's a very good finisher and a very good goal scorer. He knows where his teammates are around him in the box, and he's very good at laying off passes, doing quick 1-2s in and around the area. And as a result, he also averages a decent amount of expected assists for Santos. And his goal scoring numbers are really impressive as well. I think he's averaging around 0.65 goal contributions per 90 for Santos in the league this season, and Santos are only averaging 1.28 goals per 90. So you can see that based on those statistics, like he's someone who he's someone who is able to be quite productive even in a team that isn't necessarily as productive in front of goal.
Very interesting. And I think the thing to remember about all this is that he's only 18 and
19.
Liverpool, 19, sorry. And Liverpool aren't really in a position where they need any more attackers. So it's maybe just one to keep an eye on for the next several years to see how he progresses, or maybe Liverpool could strike a deal maybe next summer. But I think for now, obviously, it's just purely speculation, and Liverpool are not in a position where they need to buy any more forwards, even with several players leaving. Which nicely takes us on to our next piece of business, with Takumi Minamino departing after 2.5 years. Ben, I know you were a big fan, you were firmly in the Minamino camp. Do you think it's a loss, or what do you think his legacy is as a Liverpool player, or what's your
Yeah.
opinions on the move in general?
Well, um, yeah, I mean, I don't. It is a loss, I think, for Liverpool. Like, I don't necessarily agree with you that I think Liverpool could still do with replacing Minamino and Origi because we saw Darwin Núñez. He's kind of coming for Mane, so I think that there is a little bit of room for someone like Marcos Leonardo to come in and play a sort of backup role in the domestic cup games anyway.
Yeah,
But it's not a priority, like you said. But in regards to Minamino, I think he's done all he could at Liverpool. Really, he stepped up when he needed to in the cup games. He scored a few Premier League goals as well when he's come on, and his last season, he was getting close to one of the best goal contribution averages of any Liverpool attacker, which just shows you like how good of a season he's had. And but I think ultimately he is someone who's going to be looking for regular game time, and at Liverpool that was just not a realistic option for him. So Monaco makes sense.
yeah. I mean, now Liverpool's in a position now where they're going to need someone who's an expert in the Carabao Cup third, fourth, and fifth rounds, because that's where Minamino came into the zone. He basically carried Liverpool in those early rounds in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So Liverpool is going to need someone to replace Minamino for that time of the year.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up. We've brought in Fabio Carvalho, who's Liverpool are hoping for will play a similar role to Minamino in attack, and he is someone who's very versatile. Who can play on the left, who can play on the right, and who can also play centrally as a false number 9 and even drop back as a number 10. So it's going to be very interesting to see how much of a role he is given. Especially in pre-season, we'll see. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him then. And then he is someone with great potential. And I think for Liverpool, Minamino is getting close to 27, 28. They needed that fresh blood and to build for the future. And yeah, maybe Caballo and Elliott and perhaps even Kyle Gordon's. We saw a bit of him last season. He scored in the FA Cup and he's coming back from an injury at the moment. But perhaps those three are going to be making a step up next season.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you think? Do you think, with hindsight now, do you think the Minamino experience or the experiment? Do you think he was a failure at Liverpool, or do you think he was just about right for where he was on the pecking order and what Liverpool ultimately got for him, transfer wise? So, do you think he was a failure, or do you think he was a success, or maybe just somewhere in the middle?
I think it was a major success, really. Liverpool brought him in for 7.5 million, and they brought him in to be a backup, and they never expected him to break through into the starting 11, I don't think. And he did that job extremely well. It got Liverpool 2 trophies in the end. So I don't think he can be classed as a failure. And now Liverpool have sold him on for twice the money, even though he's considerably older, a few years older for sure. Anyway, so in that regard, both from a financial aspect and from a sporting aspect, I think you can't really complain with his impact, and you can't really complain with the transfer. I think it works out perfectly for Liverpool and for Minamino as well. I think he became part of a major club in England, and he'll take away with him special memories.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's the thing. He's no doubt he's become a better player for the 2.5 years that he spent, under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, playing with better players than he had at Red Bull Salzburg. So, I mean, when you take things into consideration, he won several trophies, scored some important goals. Well, speaking of goals, what do you think was Minamino's best goal? Not to put you on the spot or anything, because you probably don't remember every goal he scored, but is there one that stands out?
I think he's one against Leicester probably in the League Cup, and then I quite liked his one against Arsenal when he came on, and I think he was only on for like a minute or so, and he got the icing on the cake against Arsenal. So I think those two I'd highlight as two of his most memorable ones.
Yeah. Well,
He
no
actually
doubt.
had a knack for, I just remembered he actually had a knack for scoring against Arsenal because he scored against them in the Community Shield as well. So, yeah.
Well, no doubt, Ben, you'll be keeping tabs on Minamino at Monaco to see how he gets on.
Yeah, definitely.
And that'll do us for today's edition. And be sure to check out Blood Red for all visual and audio content, and keep an eye on Liverpool.com for the latest written content. And yeah, thank you, Ben, for joining me. I'm going through our memories of Minamino, and that'll do us for now.